Welcome back to the garage. This is episode 8 of our Intro to Crypto series. Before we move forward, let's reset the map so everyone knows where we are. Episode 1 was Bitcoin, the engine, why it exists, and why supply is limited. Episode 2 was exchanges, the dealership, how money gets in and out. Episode 3 was wallets, the keys, custody, ownership, and why not your keys matters. Episode 4 was DeFi, the system that removes middlemen. Episode 5 was smart contracts, the transmission that executes the rules. Episode 6 was liquidity and lending, the first time we actually put the car in drive. Episode 7 was vaults, automation, and compounding strategies. That brings us to today, leverage, and this is where things start getting serious. But before we go deeper, quick note for the regular garage guys watching this thinking, what is going on in here? Relax. The garage hasn't changed. We still do our normal content. This Intro to Crypto series is just another segment we're running so more people can understand what's happening under the hood before they start pressing buttons. Because a lot of people are curious about crypto, but they don't ask questions. They don't want to sound dumb. So they guess. They just guess. And guessing with leverage is one of the fastest ways to lose money. All right, today we're explaining how leverage works. Next episode, we'll show where these trades actually happen and the exchanges we use in the garage. Think of it like this. Today, we've got the car on the track. We're doing our first practice lap. Next episode, we'll show you where the starting line is. Let's start with the simplest definition. Leverage means borrowing capital to control a larger position. If you have 1-0 and trade normally, you control 1-0. If you use 3 times leverage, you control 3-0. If you use 10 times leverage, you control 10-0. You didn't create money, you borrowed exposure. Now, if you come from the stock market, this should sound familiar. In stocks, it's called margin. Margin lets you borrow money from your broker to buy more shares. For example, if you deposit 10-0, a broker might let you control 20-0 worth of stock. Same idea, more buying power, more risk. Options traders may also recognize leverage. When you buy a call option, you're controlling a large amount of stock for a smaller upfront premium. Again, more exposure with less capital. Crypto leverage works on the same core idea, but the mechanics are different. In crypto, most leverage trading happens through perpetual futures, often called Perps. Perpetual futures are contracts that let you trade the price of an asset without owning the asset itself. You're not buying Bitcoin or XRP, you're trading the price movement, up or down. And unlike traditional futures contracts, Perps don't expire. They stay open until you close the position or the system closes it for you. And that's where the risk comes in. Now let's slow this down and walk through a few real examples. So this actually makes sense. Let's say XRP is trading at $1 per coin. You buy $3,000 worth of XRP. Without leverage, if XRP rises 10%, your position becomes about $3,300. You made $300. If XRP drops 10%, your position becomes about $2,700. You lost $300. Simple. Now let's introduce 3 times leverage. You still deposit $3,000, but your position now controls $9,000 worth of XRP. If XRP rises 10%, that 10% move is calculated on $9,000. Instead of making $300, you make about $900. Same move, 3 times the gain. But now flip it. If XRP drops 10%, the loss is also calculated on $9,000. Now you lose $900 instead of $300. Same move, 3 times the damage. That's leverage. Now let's talk about where liquidation happens. When you use leverage, your capital becomes collateral for the borrowed portion of the trade. With 3 times leverage, your collateral is covering roughly 1/3 of the position. If the market moves far enough against you, your collateral can no longer support that position. So the exchange closes the trade automatically. That's liquidation, no warning call, no negotiation, just math. For a 3 times leverage position, liquidation often happens when the market moves roughly 25 to 30% against you, depending on the platform and fees. Now let's look at a second example where liquidation happens much faster. Let's say you deposit $1,000 and open a trade using 10 times leverage. That means you now control $10,000 worth of exposure. If the market moves 10% in your favor, your profit is about $1,000. Your $1,000 account becomes roughly $2,000. That's the upside people see. But now flip it. If the market moves 10% against you, that same $10,000 position loses about $1,000. Your collateral is gone. The exchange automatically closes the trade. Liquidation. That's why higher leverage becomes extremely dangerous. Small moves can end the trade. Now let's talk about a question people ask all the time. Is leverage ever smart? Let's use Bitcoin as an example. Let's say you own one full Bitcoin and Bitcoin is trading at $50,000. Without leverage, your exposure is $50,000. If Bitcoin rises 10%, your position becomes $55,000. You made $5,000. Now let's say you open a 2 times leverage position. Instead of controlling $50,000, you now control $100,000 worth of Bitcoin exposure. If Bitcoin rises 10%, you make $10,000 instead of $5,000. But now look at the risk. Because you use 2 times leverage, your collateral covers roughly half of the position. So if Bitcoin drops roughly 50%, the position could be liquidated. Lower leverage gives you more room. Higher leverage removes that margin for error. Now, there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to talk about. Leverage is not free. When you open leverage trades, there are fees. First, there's the trading fee. Every time you open or close a position, the exchange takes a small percentage. That's similar to commissions in stock trading. But with perpetual futures, there's another cost called funding. You may notice a countdown clock on some exchanges. That clock is tied to funding payments. Perpetual futures don't expire like traditional futures contracts. So exchanges use funding payments to keep the contract price close to the real market price. Every few hours, often every 8 hours, traders either pay or receive funding, depending on which side of the market they are on. If the market is very bullish and lots of traders are long traders may pay funding to short traders. If the market is very bearish and lots of traders are short traders may pay funding to longs. That countdown clock is showing how long until the next funding payment happens. Think of it like a parking meter. If you keep the car parked in that spot, the meter keeps running. Those funding payments slowly add up over time. That's why leverage is usually used for shorter term trades, not long-term positions. Let's bring this back to the garage. Trading without leverage is like driving a normal car down the highway. Leverage is like installing a turbocharger. The car becomes faster, more responsive, more powerful. But if you take a corner wrong, the crash happens faster too. Leverage amplifies everything. Wins get bigger, losses get bigger, and they happen much faster. So here's the takeaway from today's practice lab. Leverage lets you control larger positions with smaller capital. Perpetual futures allow traders to speculate on price direction without owning the asset. Liquidation automatically closes trades when collateral can no longer support the position. Fees and funding slowly affect trades while they stay open. And leverage amplifies both gains and losses. Next episode, we're going to show where these trades actually happen. We'll walk through the exchanges we use in the garage. You'll see the dashboards, the leverage controls, the liquidation levels, and that funding countdown clock in real time. Because once you see the cockpit, the gauges finally start to make sense. And when the dashboard makes sense, you stop guessing. Same garage, same rules. Let it rip.